Good afternoon and welcome to the latest episode of Tom Talk Live. Nobody wants to see the Chiefs win another game edition. I want to do a Tom Talk shout out to the Newton First Aid Squad. This all-volunteer squad, formed in 1957, has been serving the town of Newton and our neighboring communities for over 67 years. With pride, dedication, and distinction, they provide emergency medical services to our residents and those in need. The squad handles over 2,000 calls a year, and they are always looking for new volunteers. For more information, please visit newtonfirstaidsquad.org today. Plans are already underway for the St. Patrick's Day Parade on March 16th, as well as Newton Day, summer concerts, summer movies, and more. We are in the middle of the 2024 budget process. I anticipate holding our public discussion with Council on or around February 24th. I want to recognize Police Chief Steve Van Ulen and Lieutenant Tom Muller, both of whom will be retiring later this year. Thank you both for your years of dedicated service to Newton. We are working on an exciting new redesign of the NewtonTownHall.com website and looking into the creation of a Newton app. Stay tuned for more details. In the last episode of Tom Talk Live, we had our favorite former municipal engineer emeritus, Harold E. Pello. Today we continue our flagrant attempt for high ratings, social media influence, unlimited autonomy, and exceeds expectations ratings on our next manager evaluation by interviewing our favorite mayor, the esteemed mayor of the town of Newton and director of the all-volunteer Newton First Aid Squad, John Paul Couce. Great to have you on our program today, Mayor. Tell us exactly what do you do for a living?
So it depends on how we want to define that question. Most of my time is spent actually not being compensated running the first aid squad, but if we're going to be true to the question, I do work as a paramedic and educator for both the Atlantic Health System as well as St. Clair's Health System.
And how long have you been doing that work for Atlantic and St. Clair's?
Since I came back to New Jersey 2015 or so, 2015, 2016. Before that, when I was living in Boston during grad school, I worked there. In upstate New York during undergrad, I worked there as well. And then I started my career in EMS right here in Newton with the First Aid Squad back in 2005.
And how did your upbringing impact the choices you made with your education and career?
So it's sort of a two-line or a twofold answer. Both of my parents come from very unique backgrounds, or independently of each other. My mother was a third-generation resident of the town of Newton. Her parents ran their own roofing business in town, Hartman Roofing, and they supported 6 kids running their own business. So, looking at that side of the family, there's a strong history, a strong track record of self-resilience and self-control, being able to run your own business and provide for your family. And then on my father's side, he's not even a first generation, I'm the first generation on his side. He immigrated with his family from Cuba and went through the struggles of acclimating to this country, learning the language, trying to gain employment. My grandfather worked in a factory, was transferred a couple times. Then my father ended up entering the Marines, graduated and became a state trooper. And his passion for his work, his dedication to doing what he had to do to put food on the table to support his family, in combination with my mother's background, just kind of fostered the best stage for looking into doing whatever I could do, maximizing my potential, and making my parents proud.
If you could go back in time and give advice to the younger version of JP, what advice would you give and why?
Depends on how young we're talking, because I'm not terribly old at the moment, but if we were to go back, maybe a decade or so, maybe let myself know that it's okay to take a break sometimes, and that although you might want to do everything, you don't necessarily have to. Not to say that the older version of yourself has departed too much from that, or maybe the older version of yourself needs to take their own advice, but that's probably one thing I could benefit from, or could have benefited from.
What do you consider to be your greatest life or career achievement?
So still young, still looking, for large prospects in life. But I think to this point, the First Aid Squad and its turnaround under my directorship, if you will, I think is probably what represents the greatest accomplishment for myself, because we took an agency that was on the brink of closure, desperately failing, and we were able to turn it around to become the most successful agency in the county.
If I could give you a do-over, what would be the one project, life decision, or choice that you made that you would do over, and why?
So I'd probably go back to freshman year of college. Living on my own, dorm life. A large transition from living here in town with my parents, and because I functionally had free reign over my schedule, I tried to fill my schedule up as much as I possibly could. Definitely bit off more than I could chew, and we had to do a lot of work to recover from that first year just between clubs, joining the fire department in town, trying to work in the ambulance. In addition to trying to double major from day one, it was just way too much. I set my sights high, and it may have just been a touch too high at the time.
Fair. What was the most challenging experience you went through in your life, and how did you persevere?
So I think this question is pretty closely connected to the question we asked before about what's your greatest accomplishment. Usually I think that people find their greatest challenge to also ultimately become their greatest accomplishment. And I had a good team behind me, but it really took a lot of work, and we really almost had to take the first aid squad and break it down to its bare bones, rebuild the entire agency to turn it into what it is today. And it was not without a lot of hard work, a lot of sleep deprivation, and a lot of perseverance and teamwork with the other folks in the squad to be able to turn it into what it is today.
If aliens landed in front of you and in exchange for anything you desired, offered you any position on their planet, what would you want and why?
Well, I think that I would probably be best suited to be the terrestrial ambassador if I was the only human connected to their planet. So probably be the one to expose them to our culture, our way of life, the good and the bad, for their benefit.
If you had to be shipwrecked on an island with all your human needs, a fleet of new Ford ambulances, unlimited grant funding for all municipal projects, and Netflix building their world headquarters in Newton next to Thor Labs were all taken care of, what 2 items would you want to have with you, and why?
I don't know there would be much for me to do, so I could finally probably take a break and listen to music. That's the one escape that I focus on the most when I need one, and probably a pen and paper to write stuff down, to doodle, to draw. Those are my outlets.
Sounds good. Favorite cartoon?
Ooh, favorite cartoon would probably be the Flintstones, the old Flintstones.
Favorite food?
Cheesecake.
Favorite movie?
The Blues Brothers.
Favorite superhero?
So that's the one area that I think I lacked in my childhood. I wasn't really a Marvel or a DC kind of fan, but I guess we could probably say Superman is the closest one that we have.
Sports team?
So the Newton Braves. How about that?
Oh.
Or the Cornell men's hockey team. Ice hockey team.
Right.
There we go.
Good team. All right. Musical band or act?
Fela Kuti, a Nigerian artist.
Oh. And last but not least, our Tom Talk Top 10 question 11. Tell us what you love about the town of Newton.
So despite being young, I am absolutely an old soul, and the historic aspect of this town is really what gets me. I enjoy reading about it. I enjoy looking at the architecture. Any little piece of historical information that I can find and remember and commit to memory, I'm there for it. So the history of this town is definitely unique as far as the county is concerned. This is the hub. It's always been the hub of the county, one of the earliest municipalities in the state, and it's home, and I want to know all about it.
All right, enough about my questions. Tell us, let's talk about the first aid squad. Tell us what's going on with the squad currently. Anything new and exciting for 24?
So as Tom mentioned, or as you mentioned, Tom, we're always looking for new members, but I'm happy to say that we're almost at a point where the schedule is full, and I don't know the entire time that I've been there that we've been in a position like this. So we're very happy and very excited to have that be the case. We have transitioned. Historically, we used to have an older membership, and over time, due to whatever factors in society have driven this, we've really transitioned to a much younger audience, a much younger group of participants. And we're very happy to have a strong relationship with the high school, to have a pipeline for youth members to join. And we recently began a partnership with the Sussex Technical School with their allied health program to offer them a sort of an externship opportunity so they can participate in the squad activities. A lot of them have gone on to become members, have continued serving during their college time, and it certainly supplements the town, it supplements the squad, and we're happy to have them. As the volume increases and the costs increase as well, one of the items that we're currently exploring is the potential for insurance billing. That might be something we see coming down the pike, just because the costs continue to increase, and there has to be some sort of resolution to that if we're going to stay afloat. But we're happy to have a membership surplus.
Great. And tell us, what's it like to be the mayor of the town you grew up in? What are your goals for the year? Tell us about the council side of your equation.
Sure. So it's exciting. As I mentioned at the reorganization meeting, growing up, I had this very unique and really unexplained interest and knowledge of presidential trivia. And anything that I would tell people, or the only thing that I would tell people if they asked me what I wanted to be when I grow up, would be the president, just because I was so enthralled by the office and the history and trivia behind it. And I sort of always saw myself entering the political sphere, and to be the mayor of the town I grew up in is a very unique experience, because as we grow up, a lot of people move here or there with school, work, and to have the opportunity to continue to live in town and to be the mayor is an experience that, although I might have predicted once upon a time, it's not really something that I really saw happening until it actually happened. And now that it's here, it's definitely a very honoring experience to hold.
And tell people why Newton is so special. I know you talked about the history, but what does the town offer that other towns don't, or what makes Newton unique when you look at Newton compared to other municipalities in this part of the state?
Sure. So, although we're not really an urban center per se, I would say that we are probably as urban as you get for Sussex County standards. And because of that, you have access to what the rural environment of Sussex County offers, as well as the quote-unquote city-town feel, the walkability, the compact density that our town offers. You can walk down Spring Street and functionally get whatever you need. There's markets that sell food. There's clothing opportunities. There's a bodega. There are various restaurants of all different ethnicities, all different cultures that you can access. Businesses, there are banks, anything you need, you can find it here in town. Maybe not mass transportation per se, but that's the trade-off of living out in Sussex County versus to one of the more urban, or one of the more one of the counties that are closer to New York City, or the larger environment. So to have the ability to experience nature, to experience the rural aspect, but then also have the cityish feel is not something you can come by, I think, anywhere else in the county.
And what was it like growing up in town? What changes have you seen? What were the schools like? The schools are a big part of what makes Newton special, so talk about that.
Sure. So I'm sure that we can all agree that maybe the traffic has increased quite a bit since I grew up, but a lot of that is due to the development that the town has seen, the harnessing of the potential that the town has. We've transitioned from what used to be an industrial manufacturing town that then became, not to say decrepit per se, but when industry left, it kind of left this hole in town that wasn't really filled by anything until some of our more high-tech or STEM industries, Store Labs, Advanced Analytics, Planet Network started transitioning back to town in order to kind of change that image. It allowed the college to grow, to have that sort of program develop. The high school now has a robotics team. We have a lot of youth members in the First Aid Squad, and it's very interesting to engage in conversation with them and hear what's going on in school as they talk about their day with their friends, and you hear the different classes that are being offered at the high school that were never offered when I was there. It kind of makes me a little jealous that I didn't have the opportunity to take like civics or some of the other classes that they offer now. And or having access to a robotics team, having access to Mr. Hoffman's legacy of his tech work there. I'd say STEM is on the rise in this town, and I don't think it's going anywhere.
Last question. I know we have some vacancies on boards and commissions. Maybe you could talk about the importance of people volunteering, not just with the squad, but some of the things we do here in the building with recreation, historic, and maybe talk about that if you could.
Sure. Yeah. The blood and such is not for everyone, so I understand it if you're not willing to come to the First Aid Squad. But for everyone who lives in town, it's here for you. And the town is what you make of it. And if there are things in the town that you'd like to see change, things in the town that you want to be involved with, the opportunity's there. It's just a matter of, letting us know or finding us so we can connect you with the right service. And there are various boards and commissions that the town has. We have the planning board, which is a combined planning and land use board. It oversees a lot of zoning applications, any sort of new development, new change to property, the new construction that's happening in town. Those applications are presented to the board. So if you see, the new apartment buildings coming up, or when Starbucks was being built, if you want to be involved in the discussion, in the background that goes on with that project, our planning board is a great fit for you. If you share an interest in history like myself, we have the Historic Preservation Commission, which hears applications for any renovations that are going on with properties located within our historic district. If you're someone who is out and about, you're very active, fit, you enjoy the community services, the recreational aspects that our town offers, we have the Recreation Advisory Commission, which you can be a part of. They oversee the Easter egg hunts. They're connected with some of the parades at times, I think there's Zumba classes we offer. And if you want to see other recreation programs, you can get involved with those. I know our Community Development Director, Kimberly Williams, helps put on the concerts and the movie nights that the town has, all recreational activities. So if you'd like to see new programs out in the community, there are seats on the commission. We can have you come in and involved with that. I'm sure she'll be happy to take your call. We also have the Newton Housing Authority, which might be one of our lesser known commissions. They oversee the public housing that we have in town, particularly our Liberty Towers building at 32 Liberty Street. There are quite a few vacancies on that board at the moment, and although it might not necessarily seem as something as attractive or as energetic or vigorous as like the Recreation Commission might be, it's definitely a very needed aspect, or very needed board that this town has, because we do have a number of senior citizens who live in our community housing, who have needs within that building, who want to have a proactive board that help them, meet the daily needs of their housing requirements as well.
Great. So yeah, definitely if people are interested, they can go to the website, fill out the volunteer application. We'll be discussing that with the council soon to fill some vacancies and get some more people involved. So thank you, Mayor, for being a good sport and legendary guest on Tom Talk Live. That's a wrap. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram for further updates on Town of Newton events, happenings, and more. Russo out.